I never thought a cross-country flight would turn into a legal nightmare that would cost someone their entire travel empire, but here we are. Let me tell you about the time an entitled woman tried to steal my cat's seat on a plane, and how her complaint ended up destroying her own business. It started on a Thursday morning at Denver International Airport. I was traveling with my emotional support cat, Whiskers, a beautiful orange tabby who has been with me through some of the hardest times of my life. I had done everything by the book. Paid the extra fee for the seat next to me, submitted all the proper documentation weeks in advance, received written confirmation from the airline. Whiskers had his own ticket, his own boarding pass with his name on it. Yes, the airline actually printed a boarding pass that said Whiskers Henderson. I even had it laminated because I thought it was adorable. I work as a consultant for airline regulatory compliance, which means I know aviation law inside and out. It is kind of my thing. I had made absolutely certain that every single requirement was met. Whiskers was in an airline-approved carrier that fit under the seat. I had his health certificates, vaccination records, and a letter from my therapist. Everything was perfect. Before we go any further, if you are enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to Karen Eat World. Your support helps me bring you more unbelievable stories of entitled people getting exactly what they deserve. Trust me, you will want to be subscribed for where this one is going. I was in my assigned seat, 12A, window side. Whiskers and his carrier was secured in 12B, the middle seat. I had specifically booked these seats because the configuration gave us a little extra space and there was no one assigned to 12C, the aisle seat. It was going to be a peaceful 5-hour flight to Boston. Then she arrived. Let us call her Patricia, though I learned later everyone at the airport knew her by a different name. Patricia was probably in her mid-50s, dressed in what I can only describe as aggressively expensive athleisure. You know the type. $300 yoga pants she has never done yoga in, designer sunglasses pushed up on her head like a crown, and that particular haircut that screams I demand to speak to your manager even in complete silence. Patricia stopped at our row, looked at her boarding pass, then looked at Whiskers' carrier in seat 12B. Her face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Confusion, annoyance, then settling into that special entitled determination that means someone is about to make your day much worse. Well, there has obviously been some kind of mistake, she announced, not to me specifically, but to the universe at large, as if the universe itself would rush to correct this perceived injustice. That is my seat. Actually, I said politely, holding up Whiskers' boarding pass, this seat is reserved for my emotional support cat. I have all the documentation here if you would like to see it. She did not even glance at the boarding pass. A cat does not need a seat. That is ridiculous. I booked a middle seat specifically because the window and aisle were taken, and now you are telling me I have to sit somewhere else because of a cat. I paid for this seat, I explained, keeping my voice calm and friendly. The airline confirmed the reservation. He has his own ticket. Patricia made a sound somewhere between a scoff and a laugh. I am not sitting in the back of the plane because of a pet. Move the cat carrier under the seat where it belongs and I will sit here. The carrier fits under the seat in front of him, I said. That is part of the approved setup. But he has this seat reserved. I am happy to call a flight attendant to confirm. Oh, I will call a flight attendant all right, Patricia said, and her voice had that sharp edge that meant she was transitioning from annoyed to combative. She jabbed the call button like she was trying to push it through the panel. A flight attendant arrived within 30 seconds, a patient-looking woman named Sarah according to her name tag. Yes, how can I help you? Sarah asked with professional cheerfulness. This passenger, Patricia said, pointing at me like I was Exhibit A in a criminal trial, has put a cat in a seat. A seat that should be available for actual human passengers. I want this resolved immediately. Sarah looked at me, at the carrier, then pulled out her tablet. May I see your documentation, sir? I handed over my phone with the email confirmations, the boarding passes, and all the supporting documents. Sarah scrolled through everything with the practiced efficiency of someone who has dealt with this exact situation before. Everything appears to be in order, Sarah said to Patricia. This passenger purchased a seat for his emotional support animal following all airline guidelines. The animal is properly documented and the seat is legitimately reserved. That is insane, Patricia said, her voice rising. You are telling me a cat has more rights than I do? I am a platinum tier member of your loyalty program. I fly with this airline 50 times a year. I run a travel agency, for crying out loud. I book hundreds of flights annually through your airline. I understand your frustration, Sarah said, still calm, but the seat is legally occupied. Let me check if there are any other middle seats available on the flight. Patricia crossed her arms. I am not moving. This is discrimination against able-bodied passengers. I am being forced to accommodate an animal in a way that violates my rights as a paying customer. Now, I should mention that Patricia said this loud enough that several nearby passengers turned to look. The man in 11C actually took out his phone and started recording. I did not blame him. This was getting interesting. Sarah checked her tablet. Ma'am, I have a middle seat available in row 23. I can move you there at no charge. Row 23? That is practically in the bathroom. Absolutely not. I paid for this seat assignment. Actually, Sarah said, checking her screen, you were assigned this seat by the system during online check-in. You did not pay for a specific seat selection. That was apparently the wrong thing to say. Patricia's face flushed red. I have been flying for 30 years. I have never been treated so disrespectfully in my entire life. This is harassment. I am being harassed by your airline over a cat. Ma'am, I need you to either take the available seat or we will need to resolve this issue before the flight can depart. Fine, Patricia snapped. I will take my complaint to corporate. I will be filing a formal grievance about this incident. What is your name? Sarah provided her employee number with the weary professionalism of someone who has been threatened with corporate complaints many times before. Patricia made a big show of typing it into her phone, muttering things like unbelievable and absolutely disgraceful, while she did. She stomped off toward the back of the plane. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. So very wrong. The flight itself was uneventful. Whiskers was perfect, sleeping peacefully in his carrier the entire time. We landed in Boston, deplaned, and I figured I would never see Patricia again. The universe had other plans. 3 days later, I was back in Denver. I was sitting in my home office when my phone rang from a number I did not recognize. Normally I would not answer, but I was expecting a call from a client, so I picked up. It was the airline's customer service department. Apparently, Patricia had filed not just a complaint, but an entire legal demand letter claiming that my presence on the flight with Whiskers violated the Air Carrier Access Act, created a hostile environment, and caused her severe emotional distress. She was demanding I be banned from the airline and threatening to sue both me and the airline. The customer service representative was apologetic but explained they had to investigate all legal threats seriously. They needed me to provide my documentation again, which I did immediately. I also mentioned my profession, that I literally consult on airline regulatory compliance for a living, and that I would be happy to explain exactly how her claims had no legal merit. Within a week, the airline dismissed her complaint entirely. They sent me a formal letter stating that I had followed all regulations, that her claims were baseless, and that they considered the matter closed. They even upgraded my status in their loyalty program as an apology for the inconvenience. I thought that would be the end of it. Again, I was wrong. 2 weeks later, Patricia found me on social media. I am not sure how, but she sent me a message that was 3 paragraphs of vitriol about entitled pet owners, animals on planes, and how I represented everything wrong with modern society. She informed me that she was a travel agent who specialized in airline bookings and that she would be telling all her clients to avoid passengers like me. She said she had connections in the industry and would make sure I faced consequences for my selfish behavior. That message was a mistake on her part. A big one. See, Patricia had included her business information in her email signature. Henderson Luxury Travel, based in Denver, specializing in premium airline bookings and vacation packages. I looked up her website out of curiosity. It was impressive. She had corporate contracts, celebrity clients, and testimonials from what appeared to be some fairly high-profile people. Her entire business model was built on her relationships with airlines, her platinum and diamond status with every major carrier, and her ability to get her clients the best seats, upgrades, and travel experiences. I did not respond to her message. Instead, I started making phone calls. Remember when I mentioned I work in airline regulatory compliance? What I did not mention is that I consult for 3 of the 5 largest airlines in North America. I review their policies, help them navigate Department of Transportation regulations, and occasionally provide expert testimony when they face legal challenges. I know people. I know a lot of people. I started with my contact at the airline where the initial incident happened. I explained the situation, forwarded Patricia's threatening message, and asked if they were aware that one of their platinum members was using their status to harass and threaten other passengers on social media. My contact was very interested in this information. Airlines take harassment seriously, especially when it is documented in writing and when the harasser is explicitly using their frequent flyer status as a weapon. Then I reached out to my contacts at 2 other major airlines. I did not ask them to do anything. I simply informed them that a travel agent was making threats based on her status with various carriers and wondered if they might want to review her account activity and social media presence. You know, just as a routine compliance matter. I also happened to mention to these contacts that Patricia had been openly hostile to a passenger with a documented emotional support animal, which could potentially create ADA liability issues if she was creating hostile environments for other passengers with disabilities. The response was faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks, Patricia's platinum status with the first airline was suspended pending investigation. Then the other 2 airlines I had contacted suspended her accounts as well. Turns out, when you threaten passengers and use your frequent flyer status as intimidation, airlines take a dim view of continuing to reward that behavior. But I was not done. Patricia's business model depended on her elite status. She used it to book premium seats for clients, to secure upgrades, to access airport lounges where she met with high-paying customers. Her marketing materials explicitly mentioned her platinum and diamond status with multiple carriers. It was her competitive advantage. Without that status, she was just another travel agent. Except she had already made promises to clients based on access she no longer had. I monitored her business social media pages. The complaints started appearing within a month. Clients angry that they did not get the promised upgrades. Corporate customers upset that their executives were not getting the lounge access they had paid for. Negative reviews mentioning that her service quality had dramatically declined. Then came the really interesting part. Patricia, in her infinite wisdom, decided to fight back publicly. She posted on her business Facebook page about how she was being persecuted by the airlines, how she was the victim of a vindictive passenger and corporate overreach, and how she was going to sue everyone involved. She named the airlines. She named me. She posted screenshots of her suspended account notices. She violated probably half a dozen confidentiality agreements and terms of service in a single angry Facebook rant. The airlines were not amused. I received a call from the legal department of one of the carriers I consult for. They were preparing a cease and desist letter for Patricia regarding her public statements and wanted to confirm the timeline of events. They also mentioned, casually, that they were reviewing whether her travel agency's accreditation should be suspended for violating their booking policies. In the travel industry, losing your accreditation with major airlines is a death sentence. You cannot book tickets, you cannot access wholesale pricing, you essentially cannot operate. I did not tell them to do that. I just confirmed the facts they asked about. 2 months after our initial flight, Patricia's business was effectively finished. She had lost her elite status with every major airline. Her accreditation was under review. Her corporate clients had moved to other agencies. Her social media pages were full of angry reviews and her own unhinged responses to critics. But the absolute perfect ending came 3 weeks ago. I was booked on another flight from Denver to San Francisco. As I was going through security, I heard a commotion at the ticket counter. A woman was arguing loudly with a gate agent. The voice sounded familiar. It was Patricia. She was trying to check in for a flight, but her account had been flagged. The agent was explaining, with admirable patience, that she would need to contact customer service to resolve the issue with her frequent flyer account before she could check in. "This is insane," Patricia was shouting. "I have been flying with this airline for decades. I am a platinum member. I demand to speak to a supervisor." "Ma'am," the agent said, "according to my system, your frequent flyer account has been suspended. You can still purchase a ticket and fly, but you will need to do so as a basic economy passenger and you will not have access to any elite benefits." Basic economy? Do you have any idea who I am? I run a travel agency. I book millions of dollars worth of flights every year. The gate agent pulled up something on her screen. "According to our records, your agency accreditation has been revoked for violation of booking policies and public disparagement of the airline. You are welcome to fly with us as a regular passenger, but you will need to purchase a new ticket at the standard rate." Patricia's face went pale. "Revoked? Who authorized that?" "I am not privy to those details, ma'am. You would need to contact our corporate partnerships department." That is when Patricia turned and saw me standing about 20 feet away, watching this entire scene unfold. Our eyes met. I saw the exact moment she recognized me. The exact moment she realized who was responsible for the complete dismantling of her business and her travel privileges. Her face went through a spectacular range of emotions. Shock, recognition, anger, and then finally the dawning horror of understanding. She knew. She knew that her complaint about Whiskers, her threatening messages, her social media rants, had all circled back and destroyed everything she had built. "You," she whispered, and then louder, "you did this. You destroyed my business because of a cat." I did not say anything. I just held up my phone, where I had pulled up Whiskers' Instagram account. Yes, my cat has an Instagram. He has about 50,000 followers now. The top post was a photo of him in his carrier with his little boarding pass, with the caption, "Living my best life in seat 12B. Patricia stared at the phone, at me, and then at the gate agent who was trying to get her to step aside so other passengers could check in. The full scope of what had happened was written all over her face. She had threatened the wrong person. She had picked a fight with someone who had the knowledge, the connections, and the patience to systematically dismantle her entire professional life using nothing but the truth, her own actions, and the airline industry's own rules and regulations. She had been outmaneuvered so completely, so thoroughly, that there was no coming back from it. Her business was gone. Her elite status was gone. Her reputation was destroyed. All because she could not accept that a cat had a legitimate right to a seat she wanted. The last thing I saw before I headed to my gate was Patricia standing frozen at that ticket counter, still holding her suspended frequent flyer card, finally understanding that her own complaint had become her complete and total downfall. If you enjoyed this story of epic karma, please smash that like button and subscribe to Karen Eat World for more incredible tales of entitled people getting exactly what they deserve. Drop a comment and let me know what you would have done in this situation. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next story.